I'm excited to be here with you all. I enjoy coming to Boy State. I enjoy seeing you all and what you're going to do next in life. But right now I want to tell you a little bit about being your state treasurer. People always say, the state treasurer, what do you do? You know, I'd campaign and they say, what does the treasurer do? Do you used to have a big checkbook up there? Just writing checks all the time? Actually, no. We don't. Everything is pretty electronic. I bet you all have some electronic accounts you use on your phone probably. Keep up with your money, maybe. Absolutely. But you know what the treasurer's office is really? It's like a bank. It's like the biggest bank in the state. And so what I get to do is be the chief financial officer, the banker for the state. But I have to tell you, before we talk about some of the numbers and everything, there are a lot of fun things I get to do as treasurer, besides counting the money. Although the state law says every day the governor and I should count the money. Can you believe that? That's on the books. I called the governor one day and I said, hey, governor, what are you doing this afternoon? He said, I have all these meetings. And I said, you want to come over and count the money? He said, do we do that? I said, well, the law says we do it, but we don't do it. It's an old law. But you know, I've been so blessed. God has just blessed my life to be serving as a state treasurer. And I've had the opportunity to go places, Boy State, Girl State, a lot of different places across our state and meet a lot of different people. But I do get to do some fun things, like throwing the pitch out at the Braves game. Anybody been to the Braves game? My son was so worried that I wasn't going to get it across home plate. So we had to practice and practice. And my neighbors thought, what's wrong with this picture? You're pitching to him. Something's wrong. But it was fine, and I did the full-out stretch pitch, and everybody was happy, and it made it across home plate. I've ridden in the rodeo, and so that was fun. It's just, so there are a lot of interesting things that you get to do as the banker as well, because it's so much about the people. It's so much about being a part of the state and all over. So first of all, where is the city of Fitch? It's going to be a grow and flourish, and thank you. So I go across the state and I get to meet a lot of people, go to a lot of different cities and towns. And the nicest thing about our state, and people don't realize because you're not out and about all the time, but we have great people. We have great, outstanding young men like you all that are going to that next level. You're thinking about what your future is. You're in your mind thinking about what are my personal development steps that I need to take. And so when I was roughly your age, I kind of did the same thing. Thought about what I wanted to do. And I always knew I wanted to go to law school. So I went to law school, and you know, I think God just puts you in the right places. When you turn over your faith to Him and just say, okay, tell me what to do. So He put me in the banker position. So if I told you as your banker how much money we run through there, would you have any idea what kind of monies we do in a year? Some good guesses. 15 billion? 30 million? Okay, so in 1 year in the state treasurer's office, we run $18 billion a year of transactions. 18 billion. That's a lot of money. That's what makes us one of the largest state banks. Well, why does that happen? Because every dollar that comes in through taxes or whatever type of program has to go through the treasurer's office. And then we issue a warrant and we send the monies back to those different agencies. So no one can get paid unless the monies come through the state treasurer's office. And then we have a lot of things happening in the treasurer's office. We have to pay the bills for the state when we borrow money. So how do we borrow money for the state? We borrow it through bonds. And bonds are just like your credit card, basically. I was just talking earlier. How much do you think we owe on our credit card? Anybody read up on this? Credit card? On the state of Mississippi credit card. $10? $4 billion. $4 billion. Now, that is not an unusual number for our state of our size and our magnitude and our revenue producing. Actually, that's a very good conservative number. But our goal is to continue to decrease that amount because we need to be certainly very conservative and be fiscally responsible with our dollars. So we're $4 billion. We're kind of checking down a little bit, but on our credit card, we pay about $350 million a year in our payments. And what we'll do now is we'll issue some more credit in the fall, roughly about, it could be anywhere from $200 to $250 million. We'll have to look at the projects and determine what the legislature has approved, and then we'll vet it out and make sure those are the right numbers that need to be sent out into the market. Now, that's really important because that is our credit. Any of you have credit cards here? Yeah. So you know you have to pay them on time. And so we are very consistent about making sure we pay on time, we get the right dollars, and where they ultimately land to the correct trust companies. So we've got that. And then we do some other things in the Treasurer's office. In the Treasurer's office, we run the Unclaimed Property Act. Now, unclaimed property is great. The law says that every utility company, bank, corporation, if they have money that belongs to you, like you've moved or you've had a deposit and you didn't get it back, and they can't find you after 5 years, they have to give it to the Treasurer's office. And then what do? We try to find you. And so when I got there, I started thinking about how can we get these dollars back out to everybody across our state? Because as you all know, it's kind of a tough financial time right now. You know, we're watching what's happening on the federal level, and everybody needs every dollar that they can get. So we've worked very diligently about getting those dollars back to people across the state of Mississippi. Now, so what we did is we set up a call center last year. Never been done before. Call center, the first week, we took 10,000 calls. 10,000 calls. And very quickly, we got about 7,000 of those answered with money back. And so, you all have any idea how much money we've given back? Anybody checked my website? $10 million, over $10 million. So, So isn't that great to be giving money back? Now, we're doing a little differently. You can go on the website and you can fill it out. But if you had a smartphone, which I bet a bunch of you do, you can just download an app now. And you can go to Unclaimed Property. And I bet if you think about somebody, a parent, relative, there's some money there. So you help them find their money. Because every time I speak to people, be it students or adults, somebody has money. So just go to Unclaimed Property, put some names in, and it'll tell you if you have any money. Now, any of you planning to go be CPAs at some point in accounting? Not long ago, I talked to a group of CPAs, and I was telling them about unclaimed property, and they said, we know where every dollar is. You know, we're all CPAs. We don't have any unclaimed property, so thank you for saying that. And I said, well, just check. No. So I walked out, and they were shaking their heads. 3 days later, one of the guys he said, I can't even talk to you. He said, I have to email you because I'm so embarrassed. He said, I had unclaimed property. So it's out there, and so feel free to look for your parents and relatives and friends. Another thing that we do in the office is we're in charge of all the college savings programs. So all the programs that help invest in college to get you all focused on going to college. 2 programs. One is a 529 plan. Some of your folks may be invested already in that. It pays for your books, your tuition, your dorm. Very good. You can put low amounts in there. Up to 20, the minimum of 25, and up to whatever the individual chooses to do. And you get a tax credit for it. The other one, which is pretty much on the burner right now, is the prepaid affordable college tuition. Some of you may be even a part of that program, which is great. It's a good investment when we talk about investments. But you know what I had to do? I looked at it from a perspective of, did we get the right interest? How do we make this program work? So we did an actuarial audit, and the plan is to hopefully open it up. It might not look exactly like the product that we have currently. And the reason that's so important is anyone that invests in your future, put in any money on your behalf, then odds are you're going to go on to college because somebody believed in you. Somebody put that extra dollar up for you to get you to college. So it's important to me that we make that turn. Now, there's another part that's really important that has to be brought into our state because, again, it involves the financial culture of our state. Financial literacy. Thank you. You know, financial literacy is all about your personal finance. Did anybody take personal finance in school? Good for y'all. That's great. What I'd love to see is that every hand had come up. Wouldn't it be great if everybody had to take a semester of personal finance? So what does that mean? Does that help you understand how to pay for your car, how to get a mortgage, how to balance your checkbook? I have a friend, and one day she came in and she said her daughter drove through the ATM and she said, Mom, did you put that $300 in my account? She said, no. She said, well, maybe my grandparents put it in there. She said, pull that back out and tell me what that says on your ATM driving through. She said, well, it says $323. And she said, is by chance there a little dash in front of that? You all know what that means? Negative. That means you owe the bank then, plus a few fees more than likely. But it's important because you all are the future of tomorrow. And if you have the personal finance skill set, then guess what? People want to hire you. If you want to run your own business, you understand how to manage your dollars. And that's important when you have the control and the empowerment to handle your dollars responsibly. Because unfortunately what's happening right now, all across our state, our country, we're not providing you all with the necessary tools to understand that. So, we see in the news every day, people are having their cars taken because they couldn't pay for them. Homes are being foreclosed on. Nobody in the young millennium group has any savings. And that's just scary. That's not the American dream. The American dream is for you all to control your money, have that empowerment, buy that house, enjoy your job, and be very productive as a citizen of the state of Mississippi. So personal finance is very important. Right now, there are only 4 states in the country that require personal finance, a semester. Well, I think it's time for us to be number 5 instead of 50. That would change the whole complexion of our state. So, you know, one of the things that you hear people talk about, you'll hear everybody coming through talk about jobs. Because our job is to make sure that you all have jobs. Because we want you to stay here in Mississippi. We want to have you good jobs. We don't want you to leave. We want you to stay here. Because Mississippi is a great place to live. Mississippi offers so many things that if you get outside, you'll come back and go, I really think I'm liking being back home. So it's our job as political leaders to govern and to try to bring jobs in. And we want to have you ready to go. And one of the things is having you personally skilled in finance and personal financial literacy. So that's why I'm so driving this initiative, because I want to be able to have companies to come in and say, your workforce is ready for tomorrow. And you all are. You're very smart, you're very talented, and you have a long way to go. So those are sort of the big drivers that we do in the treasurer's office. But now I want to talk to you a little bit on a different level, because you are the leaders of tomorrow. You're here because someone believed in you. You're here because you are accomplished. You're here because you're an outstanding young man. And you got to start thinking about next step. I don't know, it's hard to believe right now you need to think about next step. This is a critical time in your life. And so what are you about to do? Your next step is you need to remember that your life is your personal presentation. Please consider that. Think about that for a minute. Everything you do is your presentation. You know what? From the time you got up this morning to the time you're going to go to bed tonight, you control your 24 hours, don't you? I don't have any more than you do. They don't have any more. But you know what? You control your 24 hours. What a gift that God has given you. If you waste it, you lose it. And you can't get it back. Now, you can set your course. So let's just assume you got up today and you were very, very fussy. And the person you came in touch with, that might, be infectious in a bad way. But if you get up in the morning and you have a positive attitude, you know what? You might be the only person that touches somebody else's life with a smile or a kind word. And then that's all about what you control. You get to make those choices in that 24-hour time frame. So I urge you to really think about the choices that you make, because they all come back in whatever you do for that day, for your year. But choices in your 24-hour presentation are strictly up to you. No one else can do that for you. We can give you input, we can give advice, but you ultimately make that decision. Now, in those 24 hours, you get the opportunity to make wise choices, choices of integrity. And then what does that do? That talks about you. Because you know what? Then you are attaining your character. You're starting to think about your character and how do people see you. Well, I'll tell you that character is really hard to build. You're going to see that as you go through the next few years. It's very hard. So you want to have outstanding character. But it's easily torn down. So you want to continue to maintain your character, and you need to think about yourself. Now, everything is a personal presentation, right? You hear those old, I'm sure your parents or someone has said, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? First impressions don't count. Wrong. They do. That's just not true. Because it's your presentation, and the first time you meet somebody, what do they think? They know you. So you put yourself out there, you're making that presentation. So think about, one, how you look, how you speak, what are your actions, because now you've been judged, and that becomes your character. And so think about that. Now here's another one I think is really important to you all. Electronic presentation, right? Anybody tweet? Probably. A little Facebook. Maybe some Instagram. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now we're talking. Okay, y'all are awake. Now, you thought about what you put out? Is your presentation electronically? Can you get that back? No. There's that new program that says you can make it disappear in 8 seconds. Well, guess what? That doesn't work. Somebody's taking a picture, copying it, it's out there. Think about your electronic presentation, because that's you. If you say things that are not very nice on all of those different electronic measures, then that's how people perceive you. Now, you're thinking, well, we're just young, that doesn't really matter. Absolutely, it matters. Let's just say you want to go into your master's program, right? What if you need a reference? What if you want a job? And the employers go and look at your Facebook. Oh, and it's down between you and 2 or 3 other people. And you don't have a very integrable type of Facebook. Or they see some things you've tweeted that are not very good. Well, that talks about your character, and that's a problem. So think about your electronic presentations. I have an 18-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son. We talk about that all the time. We talk about those pictures that We don't need to go up on Facebook because it's important, because it is about you. So think about that electronically. Now, a couple other points I want to share with you. Okay, I've asked you to think about your life as a presentation. Now I want you to think about networking, which is exactly what you all are doing here. Perfect. This is a cornerstone of what will script your life, networking. Take the time to get involved, get to know each other. When you're in school, participate in different clubs, associations. So important. Now you're thinking, well, I really don't have time because I'm so busy. I've got homework and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Absolutely take the time to get to know one another, create relationships. Is it going to affect you immediately? Probably not, but you reap the greatest benefits because you all are going to grow up into the workforce together, and it's so nice to know other people across the state. Take the time, keep up. Electronic is a great way to keep up. So do that, and then also volunteer. Take the time to volunteer. Give back of yourself. Again, that's extremely important that you do that. There are people out there in need, and we're all so blessed. Give back to your church. Give back to an organization that you're involved in. Could be a children's organization. Could be helping senior adults. But there's always somebody in need that you can help. And what a blessing to be able to do that. So that's a lot. But you know what? Great leaders, and you all are on the verge of making that pathway to becoming great leaders. All great leaders do that. All great leaders think about what they do in their 24 hours. What's their personal development plan? What do they see themselves doing next year, after college, and down the road? Great leaders volunteer. Great leaders take the time to network and keep up with everybody. And that's so important. So give of yourself, and you will reap great benefits. Now, again, like I said, I've been able to do a lot of fun things as the treasurer. And a lot of it's because of networking that I did early on in a lot of different areas. And one of them was shooting guns. Anybody do guns in here? Yeah, me too. Annie Oakley. And I think about that's something that networking, and so now I go out to the range with some folks that I had met early on, and we shoot because I think that's just part of the thread. But it's important to look at how people connect in your lives. Now, when I was running, I was very blessed. I got to meet Gregory Alston. And Gregory, I was so fortunate. We worked together, worked on my campaign. So you can see a driven young man, had a plan, and worked very hard because there's nothing easy about leadership. It's about giving 110% of yourself. But Gregory, now he's the president of the student body at Ole Miss. So that's so important. But he took the time to do those different steps that I'm talking about. And so Mr. Guyton over here, another one, great leader. I like that. So Mr. Guyton's a great leader. He could probably tell me most of all of your ACT scores right now, what your GPAs are, and where you're thinking about going to school. But great leaders are interested in other people and where we perceive you all moving on to in life. And so that's important to have those thought processes. So Steve has done a wonderful job. Steve and I, Mr. Guyton and I, go to church together. Now, I talk a lot. Mr. Guyton can see everybody in our church in the 2-minute meet and greet. He's the only person, he's like the Energizer Bunny. And so, but you know what? That's because he's a leader, and by the time church is over, he knows who our new people are and who we need to talk to and the young people that came because he's so involved in our youth group. But it's because you give extra of yourself. And so I will encourage you all to do that. When you think you have no extra time, you can do it. You can give of yourself. Recently, I spoke at my high school graduation, commencement, and I graduated about 10 years ago. Don't laugh, Steve. I was 10 maybe when I graduated. But I got involved, and I was a student council president of my high school. Again, look where it got me. It started thinking about relationships, future, involvement, and then, here to be the state treasurer after all those years. So if you think about it and you start plotting your life, you can start connecting the dots, even though it's hard to believe you have to start thinking about that right now. So I am so proud of each of you. Glad you're here at Mississippi State. Dr. Keenum and Ms. Tuck, everyone here does a fabulous job at Mississippi State, so I hope you all are enjoying your stay here.